This is question number 50 from book number 1 based on the 2020 NEC, and this is electricaltime.com. In an industrial occupancy where only qualified persons service the equipment and the owner authorizes the reconditioning of the equipment under a regular equipment maintenance program, what are the marking requirements for the reconditioned equipment? Is it A, the equipment must be identified as reconditioned? B, the original listing mark must be removed? C, both A and B? Or is it D, the marking requirements are not required? Just want to take 30 seconds to let you know what we do here at electricaltime.com. We do online electrical classes from the comfort of your home. And then we also have this free service. So if you click on the subscribe for free NEC questions, Monday through Friday, you'll get an NEC code question and an answer sent to your email. All right, so back to our video. And believe it or not, it's going to be D. The marking requirements are not required. So first question we're going to ask ourselves, what article are we talking about here? And I'm not really getting a sense of a specific article. So to me, this feels like it's like a general requirement, maybe for electrical installations. And that is going to be Article 110, and that's requirements for electrical installations. That's within Chapter 1 General. And when we're in 110, Article 110, requirements for electrical installations, we look at the parts and we find Part 1 General. Then we find 110.21 marking. Then we find 110.21a equipment marking. Then we find 110.21a2, and that's reconditioned equipment. And then we find 110.21a2 exception for industrial occupancies. And, there's an exception in there. I don't agree with it, but it's in the code book, and I guess that's just the way it is. So generally speaking, and let's not focus on the exception right now. But, when we recondition equipment, we have something called the equipment markings. And basically what it is, right? When equipment is reconditioned, it must be marked with the name, the trademark, or other descriptive markings by which the organization responsible for the reconditioning of the electrical equipment can be identified, along with the date, that reconditioned happened. All right, so it's really important. And the other thing that, it tells us is that the original listing, has to be removed, which I don't agree with at all. I don't agree with that. But, the code book tells us that it has to be removed, so I guess you have to remove it. But what I would prefer as an electrical inspector, if you sort of crossed it out so I can still see it there, that I knew that this was, a listed piece of equipment before you reconditioned it. And, the wording that they use, they say that the reconditioned equipment, shall be identified as reconditioned, and that the original listing mark must be removed. Approval of the reconditioned equipment shall not be based solely on the equipment's original listing. All right, so we're getting the sense, okay, we recondition a piece of equipment. It's telling us to remove the original listing label or marking. I don't agree with that, but that's what it's telling us to do. And, it's telling us that, we need to see that it was identified, as reconditioned, and that there's got to be information on there, about, the name, the trademark, or other descriptive markings by which the organization responsible for reconditioning, this piece of equipment. But now we have an exception, and now check this out. So the exception tells us that if this is an industrial occupancy where they have conditions of maintenance and supervision that ensure that only the qualified persons can service the equipment, the markings indicated in what I just read to you are not required for equipment that is reconditioned by the owner or operator as part of a regular equipment maintenance program. All right, so there it is. It's right in the code book. In one part they tell us that we got to identify this as reconditioned, and we got to put all this information on there, and we have to remove the original listing mark. But if it's an industrial facility, then we don't have to do that. All right, and that's just what the code book says, and I can't make this stuff up. That's what's in the code book. So let's see what's in the textbook here. So per 110.21a2, reconditioned equipment must, 1, be marked with the name, trademark, or a marking so we can identify the organization that reconditioned the equipment. 2, be marked with the reconditioning date. 3, be identified as being reconditioned. And 4, not have the original listing still on it. So the exception to 110.21a2 says that none of the above reconditioned markings are required for this example. And again, take a moment to read 110.21a2 exception and read the definition of reconditioned in Article 100. And again, there's going to be, equipment that's reconditioned, and there's going to be equipment that's repaired. Where that gray line is sort of can be a little difficult to identify. So when you're repairing something, does it mean you're reconditioning it? No. But reconditioning means, it's like a major overhaul that you are doing. That's generally my interpretation of what it means. And you know what? Let's not even count on what I think it is. Let's just go right now into Article 100, and let's go take a look at reconditioned. And let's see what they got to say about that, because I don't want to give you any wrong information. And again, I'm looking for the definition of reconditioned, and this is a new definition in the 2020 code. And, it talks about electromechanical systems. What's that? I don't know. It's something that's electromechanical. And it says equipment, apparatus, or components that are restored to operating conditions. Okay, that's nice. This process differs from normal servicing of equipment that remains within a facility or replacement of listed equipment on a one-to-one basis. All right, so now I'm more confused than I was before. All right, so again, my interpretation, my personal interpretation, which I might be right or wrong, but when I look at a repair, I'm just getting it fixed so that it can work again, to that minimal standard that it was working before. And when I recondition something, that means that I have all of these new parts, which might become part of like a reconditioning kit, and I'm taking all of these parts out and I'm putting all these new parts in. To me, that's reconditioning. All right, but you can go ahead and read that definition of recondition so that you can get confused as much as I'm confused on this. All right, the answer to this question is going to be D, and the marking requirements are not required. And that is code reference 110.21A2 exception.